Listening to the Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. We each have our various opinions. Let's compare them. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. The project is to depropagandize the mainstream media, and I need your help. Thanks for joining us. We start our day's broadcast with what may or may not be a successful gambit by the Biden administration headed toward the 2024 presidential election. President Biden's re-election campaign is escalating attacks against Donald Trump over the former president's recent guilty verdict and other legal troubles, launching a new television ad today as part of a massive $50 million paid media campaign that slams Trump as a convicted criminal. The ad is stark, it is provocative, and it is also here on the Wells Report. Take a look.
In the courtroom, we see Donald Trump for who he is. He's been convicted of 34 felonies, found liable for sexual assault, and he committed financial fraud. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's been working, lowering healthcare costs and making big corporations pay their fair share. This election is between a convicted criminal who's only out for himself and a president who's fighting for your family.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
So what do you think? Is that going to work? Will this be successful against Donald Trump? So the 30-second commercial, as you just saw, will air in battleground states and on national cable television. It marks Biden's first campaign ad that tries to seize on Trump's guilty conviction with 34 felony counts in his New York criminal hush money trial last month. So you saw what they said. In the courtroom, we saw Donald Trump for what he really is. Is that true? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Also, meanwhile, Joe Biden has been working. He's talked about lower health care costs, making big corporations pay their fair share. Has he done that? 817-379-2172. This election is between a convicted criminal who's only out for himself and a president who is fighting for your family. Are either of those statements true? 817-379-2172. The ad's rollout comes about 10 days before the first presidential debate of the 2024 campaign that's scheduled for the 27th of June on CNN. By hitting Trump over his conviction, the Biden campaign risks further inviting attacks from Republican critics who argue Trump's prosecution was motivated by politics and the 2024 election. Do you think that's true? 817-379-2172. Crooked Joe Biden, the Democrats weaponized the justice system against President Trump, and the new ad once again proves the sham trial was always meant to be election interference. But Americans will see through it, said Trump campaign spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt in a statement. Quote, the contrast between President Trump's strength and success versus crooked Joe Biden's weakness, failures, and dishonesty will be made clear on the debate stage next week. The ad shows the Biden campaign plans to remind America of Trump's guilty convictions, even after his son Biden, Hunter Biden, was found guilty on 3 felony gun counts last week. Character matters, Biden campaign communications director Michael Tyler said in a statement. And the president of the United States should be someone who understands that the highest office in the land is about you and your family, not a vehicle to enrich yourself. And that is the ethos Joe Biden puts into the job every day. Okay. That statement was a mistake. There are a lot of different ways to get that particular message across, but Mr. Tyler has blown it here. The president of the United States should be someone who understands the highest office in the land is about you and your family, not a vehicle to enrich yourself. Do you believe that President Biden has used his political offices to enrich himself and his family? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Then he compounds the mistake by saying that's the ethos that Joe Biden puts into the job every day. Okay, what about the money? What about the money? What about the money going to the Biden family? We know the money came to the Biden family. Why did the money come to the Biden family? Was it because of Hunter Biden's amazing capabilities when it comes to natural gas energy? No. Was he a political wunderkind, able to provide China with insights they couldn't find anywhere else? No. Then what was it? It was Joe Biden. Now, there is no argument that money came from China and Ukraine and Romania and a whole bunch of other places to the Biden family. There's no argument there. The only argument is whether or not Joe Biden actually reaped any of it. And so what we have here is we have an unfortunate statement from a spokesperson for President Biden, Michael Tyler. The president of the United States should be someone who understands the highest office in the land is about you and your family, not a vehicle to enrich yourself. You've got to be kidding, man. That is a basic blunder. And then to compound it with, that's the ethos that Joe Biden puts into the job every single day. Well, I mean, it's their campaign. It's their candidate. They can do anything they wish. All I can tell you is that I look at these things and call them the way I see them. And I think America agrees that indeed this was a political show trial. I believe that it was motivated out of the Biden White House. I do believe, and I don't believe, I'll tell you what I don't believe now. I don't believe that this is election interference. Okay? Every campaign tries to interfere with the other campaign in an election. It's not election interference. Not on the part of Joe Biden. Might be on the part of, say, Alvin Bragg and all these other people, Jack Smith, et cetera, Fonnie Willis. That may be election interference. But Joe Biden's just campaigning for president, and he's going to see how many people he can get to believe this story. Are you one of them? It's okay. It's okay if you are. Tell me why. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Give me a buzz right this minute. Love to hear from you. You know, you don't have to agree with everything that falls out of my mouth. Not everything that falls out of my mouth is a nugget. Okay, it's just what I think. I want to hear what you think, whether you agree or not. 817-379-2172. That's the telephone number. Trump is the presumptive Republican nominee. He was convicted last month of falsifying business records to hide a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. His sentencing date is July 11th. Trump in January was ordered by a Manhattan jury to pay advice columnist E. Jean Carroll $83.3 million for defaming her in 2019 when he denied her allegations of sexual assault. The Trump Organization, Trump's real estate company, was found guilty in 2022 of tax fraud and other crimes. A New York judge in February ordered Trump to pay a fine of $453.5 million. It's the biggest fine on record. Unbelievable. And then there were additional penalties against two of his sons for fraudulently overvaluing his real estate empire. This, according to USA Today. Arthur Engoron most certainly did levy those fines and those charges, et cetera, et cetera. But are they real? Is this what happens when you challenge the swamp? 817-379-2172. Is this what happens when you dare to stand against the status quo ante of how Washington works? You see, to me, this election is about Washington, D.C., and the United States of America through the populist movement that has Trump at its lead. In other words, what we're doing is we have a choice between something different and the swamp. The swamp has done everything it possibly could, up to and including distorting, perverting, warping the American justice system for the sake of their politics. And it started long before these trials. It started with the outright criminal sabotage of the Trump administration when he was in office by the deep state. I normally don't talk much about military folk because I'm part of a military here in the state of Texas. I have great respect for those people that wear those uniforms and hold those high ranks and offices. But if General Mark Milley called his counterpart in Red China saying that don't believe what the president says, we will not attack you, I don't have any idea why that general didn't immediately launch against the United States of America. That was a huge error, bordering on treason. And that was just one of the things that those operatives of the swamp that would be shown and made plain, their motivations shown and made plain through that ridiculous letter signed by 51 intelligence officers that said that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Then the FBI spoke to the media and said, hey, this could be what we're talking about. Yeah, okay, they couched it with a could be. But you don't have to really nudge a left-wing media much to follow a left-wing talking point now, do you? You want to talk about election interference? There you go. And so it's going to come down to this. It's going to come down. This entire election is going to come down to this. Are we going to continue empowering a deep state and a deep swamp? Or are we going to go someplace else? Is Donald Trump a flawed candidate? Well, it depends on what you think a candidate is. If you think a candidate is just somebody that spends 47 years in Washington, D.C. and moves from job to job to job, collecting political fame and donations from other countries. Sorry, I couldn't help but put that in there. Or do you think that what we need to do is find another path? Donald Trump is a flawed candidate. He is. But is it time for something different? Now, I'm not advocating one way or another. I am not partisan, but I know unfairness. And I know the egregious warpage of the American system for the sake of politics, and that must end. It must end immediately, forthwith, and the only way to do it is to do it by what you put in a ballot box this November. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. These people have pulled out every knife they have. They pulled out every twisted ideological warpage of the United States of America in search of political victory. I don't believe that anybody that would work that hard and destroy the United States to the level it has done deserves to have the success it so desperately, hysterically, and oppressively covets. Okay, that's what I think. What do you think? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. Want to say good morning to Rick, and I want to say good morning to Yvonne. There are lots of other people joining us on the chat room. You can too. Go to the platform and jump in. We are asking serious questions here on the morning show as we ask you, okay, this 2024 election so far distills down to this for me. It's either a vote for business as usual in Washington, D.C., or something different. Each have deep flaws. We see the political insiders, the political beltway mavens, twisting the American system into an ignoble and sick pretzel for the sake of their politics. On the other hand, we see a guy who is holding sway over the Republican Party that has deep flaws. Or does he? He is a convicted felon. Or is he? And those are the decisions we have to make. That's the decision, the primary decision. After all of this so far, that's what I see. What do you see? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. This is a biased report from Fox News. Former President Donald Trump's trial in Manhattan was a modern-day Salem witch trial that has opened the floodgates to district attorneys across the nation to prosecute former presidents. These, according to experts speaking to Fox News. No matter how much you twist and warp the traditional role of the prosecutor, it's always going to have a bad outcome. It's bad for the legal system. And now you see two DAs, both of whom are Soros rogue prosecutors, using their offices to go after somebody who, if his name had not been Trump, no DA would have even blinked an eye his way. They are using the law in a perverted way for purely political reasons. This, according to the Heritage Foundation. The legal fellow Charles Cully Stimson speaking to Fox News. Bragg charged former President Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know about all that. But here's the point, as far as I see. Believe Bragg, disbelieve Trump, vice versa. That's not what I'm looking at here. At the outset of all of this mess, I said that the founding fathers, the founding framers of this nation, protected the President of the United States from attacks just like this. They did it with the rules governing impeachment. They're vague. That is the only legal remedy. I wish they had better defined it, to be perfectly honest with you, to be a violation of the United States Code. And I'm talking about the United States Code. I'm not talking about state laws and regulations. Once you're the President of the United States, the only law that applies to you is federal. That's the way I see it. And that remains for the rest of your career, the rest of your life. Is that giving a former president of the United States far too much immunity? No, it's not. Because what do we have now? Any prosecutor, city, county, state, AGs, what have you, can go after former presidents for whatever it is they feel like they should go after them for. That is the precedent set. How long will it be before some prosecutor, probably in some richly military state in the United States, goes after Joe Biden because of that disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal? What are they going to charge Joe Biden with? Murder? Is that what we want in this nation? Do we want our presidents to be looking over their shoulder, not just during their presidency, but afterwards? Joe Biden, you got a lot of things to worry about, my friend. You absolutely do. Because if you think you've seen the last of this, you're dreaming. If this takes hold, if the Supreme Court of the United States does not act, the presidency will be all but a fading memory of Camelot long ago. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a couple of moments. Stay right there.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. We depropagandize the news here. We report it honestly and fairly here. If that's what you're looking for out of your news coverage, glad you're here. Violence. Violence in the United States of America. It is a product of, I can't say it any other way. This is my opinion now. This is a product of American politics. The deep divisions in this country are calculated. They are being used to force us into decisions we otherwise would not make. And when we have a news media that has twisted itself around the political stick, then you find yourself in a position where you really have to you really have to do more than just be a passive consumer of today's news. You have to actually think about it. We present the things that we believe we think you should know. To be able to do that thinking, you don't have the time to go through all the news that I go through every day to be able to make what would be an informed decision, in my view. The reason is because you can't trust the media. Either side of the media, it makes no difference. Bias is bias. What we try to do is we try to present fact that you can at least hopefully depend on. Violence. 9 people injured in a stabbing incident at a strip mall in Indianapolis early this morning. The stabbing scene unfolded at 3:40 a.m. in the parking lot outside Miami's Garden Restaurant and Lounge on Woodland Drive near the intersection of West 71st Street and 465. The officers found multiple people outside the parking lot after some type of disturbance had occurred, according to Indianapolis Metro Police Department Public Information Officer William Young. Those injured suffered stab wounds or some type of trauma, Young told the media at the scene. 4 people treated and released at the scene. 3 people listed in critical condition. 2 people listed in stable condition. The suspect in the case is being treated in an area hospital after having suffered trauma. Young said the investigation is in its early stages. There appeared to be some type of disturbance between 2 groups of folks, which led to the unfortunate incident. Officers are speaking to multiple witnesses and will ask local businesses for camera footage. In Michigan, a suspected gunman opened fire at the Brookland Plaza splash pad in Rochester Hills. That happened over the weekend. That gunman has been identified by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Michael William Nash, 42 years of age, is alleged to have unleashed at least 28 rounds on families, including children. He was previously described by authorities as a man who lived with his mother. He has no criminal history, according to Bouchard, and was believed to have had mental health challenges. Bouchard said 9 people were injured, some in critical condition. Nash, he said, was found in a Shelby Township home, dead from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The 9 victims of the tragedy include an 8-year-old boy who is now in critical condition with a wound to his head, a 4-year-old boy who was stable with a wound to the thigh. A 39-year-old woman shot in the abdomen and leg was also in critical condition. The 3 were members of the same family. The eldest victim was a 78-year-old man who was shot in the abdomen and is stable. Detectives are investigating Nash's motives, who Bouchard said had no connection to the victims. The shooting has been described as random and bizarre. A weapon, a 9mm Glock, was recovered at the scene along with 3 magazines. Nash died by suicide after being contained at a Shelby Township home for several hours following the attack. Bouchard said that after attempts to contact the suspect failed, drones were deployed to examine the home, where Nash was found dead. One Chicago alderman speaking out against city leadership after police urged him to abandon his pledge to camp out in a crime-ridden portion of his ward because of escalating violence. 17th Ward Alderman David Moore was camping out in a tent for 2 nights on an abandoned lot in West Englewood to draw attention to an alleged open-air drug market before gunfire rang out just feet from him, ultimately injuring 1 victim. After the incident, Chicago police vowed to work with Moore to create a plan to end drug violence in the area. Quote, "What it's going to take is this administration and certain policies to take the handcuffs off our police," unquote, said Moore, talking to Fox and Friends. "We have to make sure that they have the tools, including the item called Shot Spotter. That is a system that detects gunshots. It triangulates them so they know where those gunshots are. In this particular case, it wasn't too difficult. The gunfire happened just feet from a Chicago alderman. They know where the gunshots were being fired. They detect gunshots, making sure they have all the tools they need to combat these problems. We need to stop listening to activists where white progressives are making a whole bunch of money to tell black people what to do in their community and telling them to stop things like car stops in order to get guns and drugs off the street. These types of policies are hurting our communities, keeping our young people from being able to come out and play, and seniors able to sit on their porches. And then, Methuen, Massachusetts. 8 people involved in a shooting at a pop-up party. A shooting at a pop-up party organized through social media in Massachusetts early yesterday, left 8 people injured, including a minor. 2 of the victims are in critical condition. We are certainly deeply saddened by the tragic events of last night. Our hearts go out to the victims and their families, said Methuen Police Chief Scott McNamara at a press conference yesterday. These acts of senseless violence do not represent the values of our community. At 1:55 on Sunday morning, police responded to multiple 911 calls reporting a shooting at 100 Lindbergh Avenue in Methuen, a city in Essex County, about 30 minutes north of Boston. When they arrived, police found 7 victims with gunshot wounds and an 8th person who received serious head injuries while fleeing the scene. The victims were taken to local hospitals. There were hundreds of people involved here. These are terrible crimes. State police detectives and Methuen police are investigating, states a police press release. Officials say they would not release any more information regarding the shooting yesterday. So have there been any arrests? The investigation is ongoing. Police have not arrested anyone involved in the shooting. We have some evidence, strong leads. We don't have a suspect at this time. Violence in the United States of America. There are a couple of things you need to be aware of in this. One, we have the best information gathering capability in the history of this republic. The internet, our communications are spectacular in comparison to years past. So, we will hear more about these things that would otherwise be a local or regional story. They become national news. And then when you go back to the grist for the political mill that is the media is at the very center of, then people, for whatever reason, will report the news based on politics as opposed to informing the public. So why are we doing it? We are doing it because this is, in my humble opinion, which is why I'm speaking to you on this camera, this is political. You divide, then you conquer. And this country is more divided now than it very likely has ever been. Not so much, and people will say, well, what about the Civil War? That was pretty bad division. Yeah, except it was pretty narrow from a standpoint of scope. There was the South, driven by people who had an idea that they should have their own country, their economy based on slavery, which is a crime against humanity. The North, the Union, sought to reunify this country and take away the Confederacy from those who would seek to establish it. In this particular case, the divisions are politically left and right. They are, as we spoke of moments ago, establishment politics and something new. Women have been split away from men. Children split away from their parents. Black, white, Asian, all the races set at each other's throats. Everyone seeking to make political points, gender, sexuality. What we have seen is as time has gone by, these have gone from, say, for example, very basic things. In the 60s, it was people with black skins and people with white skin. As time moved on, it was people who wanted to have a normal capitalist life and people who said that that capitalist life was destroying the environment. Then it was men versus women. Women who were basically housewives, homemakers, etc., were told by the by the establishment that they were wasting their lives in raising children. They should go out and get a job. Well, that was amazing from a standpoint of economic growth, because suddenly you had so much more productivity. And you would think that with the productivity, the laws of supply and demand, prices would go down. That's not what happened. There was more money in the household. And in a capitalist society, under those circumstances, the marketplace expands to collect that money. And then as we continued, it was LGBTQ. And we found ourselves in a position where most people certainly, I mean, in my high school, when I was going to school in the 70s, we didn't care whether somebody was gay. It had nothing to do with us. But that turned into, well, these people have been bullied and stomped on and so on and so on. Not true where I was, but maybe I missed something. And then what we ended up seeing is the overdramatic, shall we say, obnoxious forcing of that ideology onto everyone, which has slowly morphed into protecting the kids who are gay at school to the point where everybody has to know about gay kids in school, which means everybody has to know about what gay life is, which becomes evangelism for gay life. And parents stand up against it. And then we have the people of the United States divided from their own government as federal law enforcement comes down to local school board meetings. And yes, all this has to do with power. It has to do with power in the United States of America. It has to be done so that these various groups being played off each other will coerce voters in a certain direction. And as we continue, the groups that are aggrieved get smaller and smaller. Stranger and stranger if you happen to believe in some form of normalcy. Oh my God, he said the N-word. Normal. Yeah. Because most people in the United States are sick and tired of all of this. And it doesn't make any difference what political stripe you are. There are strident supporters of each side. And they make stupid statements. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a couple of moments. But that ignores what is great about this nation. The founding charters of this nation, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights. And the people who did all of that work then sat down and wrote essays about why they did what they did and what the debates involved and how they felt about these things and where they were trying to take the country. The Federalist Papers. That is something, those papers are what we should be rallying around. When you see this wonderful idea coming from Washington, D.C., the ultimate good idea factory, you have to look at your Constitution and see if you can find that particular project in there. For example, Social Security. It's the number one debt item in a government that is $33 trillion in debt. Is that in the Constitution? The answer is no. Then why do we have it? Because of politics. Well, now you're going back a long, long way. You're going back all the way to the 30s. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. This nation is living way over its budget. Not even the incredible productivity of the United States of America can work our way out of that in any reasonable length of time. And it's all coming from the same place. The government of the United States. How much longer will we be led around by the nose by people who, of both political parties, who can only see their next political triumph? In my humble view, we need to break away from that. We have an opportunity. We took it once. There was prosperity until COVID showed up. Can we do it again? Mindful of what other amazing disaster might occur halfway through, say, for example, a second Trump term. We had COVID. What would be next? This nation is being abused by the people who believe they should run it. I believe it's time for them to stop running it. How about you? This is the Wells Report.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. The country is being brought to its knees by people who would seek to dominate it, to oppress the people in doing so. And so we are in a position where we have to determine whether or not we want that to continue. When I started this broadcast, literally on 9/11, some 23 years ago, soon to be 24, I decided I was going to start reporting the news honestly and fairly. And I've been doing it. But I was not somebody who was doing the typical mainstream. In fact, there weren't a lot of people doing what I was doing when I started this broadcast, but now, fortunately, others are working to bring you truth. There is an organization called the Free Press. You can find it at thefreepress.com. Nellie Bowles is there. And she is arguing in her brand new book that the far left revolution has successfully overtaken American cities and institutions across the country. The name of the book is Morning After the Revolution. She documents how the leftist movement she was once a part of has gained so much traction in recent years, and how concepts like abolishing police and trans ideology were quickly becoming mainstream. I mean, trans ideology, really? In most states, you cannot get a tattoo for your child under the age of 18, but you can change their sex, not by actually doing it, by simply making it appear as that you've actually doing it through surgery and mutilation. That's how far out of range these people have gotten. I don't know how much worse it could get, but I'm sure they'll think of something. She was a former reporter for the New York Times. The book came to fruition after the Times repeatedly hindered her journalistic attempts, like trying to discourage her from covering Seattle's disastrous autonomous zone, Chaz, in 2020. For me, it was not an option to not write about this stuff, Bowles told Fox News in an interview. These are really amazing stories. I couldn't sit them out. I could not do them. And so when I decided to leave the Times, I decided to write this book. It's basically a simultaneous thing. I had no other options in turn, except that I had to keep writing. I have to keep covering this. And so events have driven yet someone else to do what we do, which is try to bring you the truth as we see it. There is someone else out there named Rex Hupke. Rex and I have a hate relationship. I think Rex is a left-wing bomb thrower. But he does point out something that you need to be aware of. Last week, a Fort Worth man was charged with threatening an FBI agent who was reportedly involved in the federal gun case against Hunter Biden. The son of President Joe Biden was convicted on 3 gun charges, but the man, 43-year-old Timothy Mueller, was not satisfied, leaving a voice message on an FBI telephone that claimed, according to the charging document, you covered up child pornography. According to the criminal complaint, Mueller said Trump will win the election, and then we're going to go through the FBI and start throwing you expletives into jail, or you can steal another election, and then the guns will come out, and we will hunt you expletives down and slaughter you like the traitorous dogs you are in your own expletive homes, in your own expletive beds. The last thing you'll ever hear is the horrified shrieks of your widow and your orphans. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to slaughter your whole expletive family. That guy got arrested. And if all of this is true, I hope he enjoys the next 20, 25 years in a federal penitentiary, considering just how stupid that move was. Not just in rhetoric, but in attempted fact. You are not, none of us are going to win this through violence. That is not what America is. And if indeed this takes hold, America is gone. Yes, there is a deep state. Yes, they twist federal law enforcement into a political tool. Yes, it is outrageous. It is egregious. But you can't get there by practicing terrorism, which is what this is. This man made himself into a terrorist. I was just talking about him being sent to a federal penitentiary. Maybe Guantanamo Bay would be a better place. I'm not kidding either. Americans don't fight like this. Americans vote. Well, John David, the elections are rigged. Maybe. Maybe they are. But when that happens, not if, because it's happened long before the last elections or two, you only win when you take a greater part in the American experience. Too big to rig is what President Trump calls it. But that's not something that President Trump is coining as a new phrase. When people don't get what they want in a free society, they vote. They don't threaten. They don't shoot. They don't stab or kill or maim. They vote. The greatest defeat that you can hand these people is their dismissal from public life. And that, in my view, is exactly what we should do in the 2024 election. What do you think? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. I'd like to hear what you have to say on the Wells Report. This is Monday, June 17th, year of our Lord 2024. We'll be back with more of this broadcast. In fact, it's going to be hour number 2, and that happens next. Stay where you are.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. It's true, and it's hard. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. Let's compare. Let's debate. We can't just be passive consumers of news insofar as the news, especially in the 2024 election season, is wrapped around the political axle. And so we have to think together. That's what the commentary is all about. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's real, doesn't mean it's true. It just means that this is what I think. And the check and balance on what I think is what you think. News, analysis, commentary, and yes, debate. This is the Wells Report. So there have been some things happening in Congress that are typical, and they are at some level annoying. USA Today reports it like this: America's elected leaders are again headed toward a standoff on some of the most fundamental pieces of legislation they're required to pass every year, keeping the government operating and protecting the country from its enemies. Yeah. Standoffs over these must-pass bills have become a familiar tradition in times of divided government. Things are no different in 2024. The Republican-led House insists on challenging the Democrat-run Senate by stuffing controversial provisions into the most essential bits of legislative business hanging over the current Congress, which is a little more than 6 months from ending. So that's bias, by the way. This is USA Today. It is, okay, arguably center-left. And you can hear it here. They talk about how the Republican-led House insists on challenging the Democrat-run Senate. But don't you think that perhaps the Democrat-run Senate does the same thing with the Republican-run House? And oh, by the way, this is the way government is supposed to work. In other words, they're supposed to be adversarial sides, and they're supposed to come up with the best possible practice, the best answer based on different points of view. This is not bad. This is good, because the more bipartisanship we have in Washington, the less freedom and liberty we have as citizens. Because what happens with bipartisanship is that we create a political class. People who believe that they are elites. People believe that they know more about this country and your lives than you do. That's something we rail against on this broadcast, because these people aren't competent enough at any level. These people are not competent enough to be making those decisions. Not in my view. How about yours? 817-379-2172. So these culture war items are indeed getting in the way of legislation. I'm not so sure it's bad. The U.S. House last Friday passed its annual Pentagon policy bill, the National Defense Authorization Act. Although the bill is traditionally bipartisan, to greenlight hundreds of billions of dollars in funding for the Defense Department, GOP lawmakers packed the legislation with culture war amendments targeting transgender health care policies, diversity programs, and climate change initiatives. Actually, once again, this is more bias on the part of USA Today. Again, how do you sift through all this propaganda to get the news? Well, I dare say you can come here. So, what does this mean? The provisions are dead on arrival in the Democrat-controlled Senate that champions those kinds of government efforts. In other words, these ideas from the Republican side of the House, the culture war amendments, actually are trying to get the government out of transgender health care policies, diversity programs, and climate change initiatives. Well, the Democrats want those things. Why? Well, because the mainstream media, including USA Today, refuse to hold them accountable for the absurdity. I've got to go over here. For the absurdity that we keep seeing them accomplish and keep trying to foist on the American people. It is destructive. The government of the United States has no business having anything to do with possible changes of gender involving families and children of those families for the sake of political what? Cachet? You've got to be kidding. But they're not. Climate change? You know, there is climate change every year. It's really strange. In the months in the Northern Hemisphere, May, June, July, August, September, it gets really, really hot. And then in October, November, December, January, February, it gets really, really cold. That kind of climate change is something we should all be aware of. And indeed, we are aware of it because we have winter clothes and summer clothes, and we just allow the climate to do whatever. But the idea that for whatever reason, the only way to save the entire planet from our climate is to pay politicians huge amounts of money through taxes. It's absurd. These people who cannot control their own spending are trying to convince you they can control the weather if you just pay them some more money. Please. It's the Chicken Little political philosophy. The sky is falling. It's going to kill us all. My God, we're going to turn into Venus. Not that there are there are no characteristics between Earth and Venus that are anywhere close to the same. We don't have to worry about a runaway greenhouse effect. And we know that's true because we had a runaway acid rain problem. And then before that, we had, my God, we're headed for another ice age. Really? Stop. So yeah, the Democrats want to keep pushing them because, well, there's money. There's money in those issues. The exact same thing happened in last year's version of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, when a series of Republican-sponsored amendments got yanked out of the final compromise product that President Joe Biden ultimately signed into law. Yeah, Jim McGovern says it. I don't know what the motivation for the statement is, but he sure has thrown some real truth out there. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts. He says it's a waste of time. It is a waste of time. He's the top Democrat on the House Rules Committee, the panel that determines what amendments could potentially be tacked onto bills. He accuses Republicans of not being serious. Really? House Republicans made a similar move earlier this month when the lower chamber passed one of 12 spending bills needed to fund the government. Their funding for the funding bill for the Military Constructions and Veterans Affairs passed along mostly party lines as Democrats decried the legislation for including numerous provisions that target abortion care, diversity programs, and transgender care, among others. What they leave out in propaganda is the science of leaving things out, not putting things in. That actually is totally focused on the military. Frankly, I'm not exactly sure that abortion care, diversity programs, and transgender care should be something that the United States military should be dealing with. I believe that that's, again, turning the United States military into a social welfare product or project instead of a military that goes out and breaks things, takes over people's countries. The people that are trying to destroy the planet, we destroy them first. That's what the military is all about. And it's not some social reclamation project. Unbelievable. So Ralph Norman, who's a Republican from South Carolina, says, I hope the speaker, when it comes back from the Senate, will drive a harder bargain than he did last year. We will see. Representative Kevin Hern, the Republican from Oklahoma, said in an interview that the GOP-led amendments are very much part of the negotiating process in anticipation of an eventual compromise with their Democrat counterparts on the other end of Capitol Hill. That's a good paragraph to have in this otherwise biased article. But what it says is Republicans are doing this to Democrats as opposed to the same thing happening the other way around. Again, the science of propaganda is leaving things out, not putting things in. So there's that. And there's all kinds of other things going on. On this broadcast, we spend an awful lot of time telling you to vote for somebody else. The only way to rein in this government is to put other people in it, as opposed to the ones we keep electing time and time and time again. People say we've got to have term limits. We have term limits. The votes of the people of the United States. We have seen these particular groups of people in the government business for some half a century arrive at a $34 trillion debt. $34 trillion debt from these very same people? Vote for somebody else. I don't care whether you're a Democrat. Don't vote for a Republican. I'm not evangelizing for the Republican Party. God knows I am not. Vote for a different Democrat. If you're a Republican, vote for a different Republican. In the history of United States politics, that's called throwing the bums out. We had better do it. We'd better do it. Because the way to attack and destroy a republic is to raid the public treasury. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing. Not evil Democrats, not evil Republicans, evil politicians. All of them. Vote for someone else. The New York Times is giving you a good reason why, albeit, once again, shaded left. The House GOP's spending chief faces a primary opponent from the right. Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma is fighting off a right-wing challenger who has tried to make the lawmaker's influential perch a liability. Well, it is. He's just telling the truth as he sees it. Representative Tom Cole became the chairman of the Appropriations Committee in April. It marked the first time an Oklahoman had ascended to one of Congress's most powerful perches. For 15 years on the panel, Mr. Cole, a Republican, quietly climbed the ranks with a gavel in mind, crafting and negotiating bipartisan spending bills. There's the B word again. All the while, he tucked projects for his state, universities, hospitals, airports to the tune of billions of dollars. But then again, they all do that. But now, just 2 months into his role, he's carefully laid plans could be upended, and with them, Oklahoma's direct line to federal funds. Tomorrow, he will face the stiffest threat to his career yet, a primary challenger from a self-funded conservative, Paul Bondar, who is running on an anti-spending platform with more than $8 million poured into the race. It's become one of the most expensive House primaries this year. Mr. Cole's gavel would have once afforded him a political advantage. The leaders of the appropriations panels are able to leverage power, curry favor at home by steering federal dollars to build up local infrastructure. But the New York Times, biased left, says, but in today's Republican Party, where the right flank is ascendant and spending has become a dirty word, being an institutionalist adept at wielding influence to bring home federal money is increasingly seen as a political liability, while the entire country is not beholden to Oklahoma and its spending priorities, or any other state. He is expected to prevail. Mr. Cole is expected to prevail, but the challenge reflects the shifts within the GOP that have helped make the party ungovernable. Well, that's because people are tired of the governance that they've seen, isn't it? Mainstream lawmakers, veteran legislatures are increasingly marginalized by what the New York Times says are ideologically driven right-wing figures with little interest in operating within the political establishment. The political establishment is $34 trillion in debt. They should all be fired. They are guilty of the greatest embezzlement of the public treasury in the history of the human endeavor. My goodness gracious. Somebody who's adept at wielding influence when it comes to money might get primaried right out of his job. Good. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a minute as we continue on this Monday here on the Wells Report. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We almost lost another 737 MAX being flown by Southwest Airlines, an airline that is over there a little ways. They run out of Love Field. It is a rare midair sway and wobble that caused substantial structural damage to the tail section of a Southwest Airlines plane during a flight last month. It was a Boeing 737 MAX 8 flying at 34,000 feet from Phoenix to Oakland, California, about 8 a.m. Pacific time. The flight crew members experienced what is known as a Dutch roll. A Dutch roll is a coupled oscillation that creates simultaneous side-to-side and rocking motions, producing a figure 8 effect. And because I think you probably ought to know a little bit more about this, I have this report that comes to us from NBC Bay Area. Check this out as they explain exactly what this is.
The Boeing 737 MAX was flying from Phoenix to Oakland when it did a Dutch roll. That's when an airplane sways back and forth. This is an example of what it might look like. You can see the plane's wings kind of tilt up and down on either side, while the nose and tail wobble left to right. Investigators say the move damaged the jet. 175 passengers, 6 crew members were on board. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The FAA and NTSB are investigating after Southwest reported the incident to the NTSB on June 7th, nearly 2 weeks after it happened. Let's bring in retired pilot Doug Rice. Doug, nice to see you. This looks actually like a stunt move at an air show. What happened here? Is this the pilot doing this, or is this something else causing this?
No, this was the aircraft, a power control unit that operates the rudder, moved the rudder in flight. That power control unit should not have had any power. It's a standby, and it caused the rudder to deflect, which moved the airplane and the sway left and right with the subsequent roll.
Okay, Doug, if you were flying or when you were flying and this happens, did it ever happen to you? And what's the recourse for the pilot? He or she has to quickly kind of straighten things out, correct?
Correct. The pilot would be aware of it almost instantaneously because he would feel it in the nose of the aircraft, and he would also feel it in the rudder pedals. And he would take action to nullify the motion and stabilize the aircraft.
How often does this happen? And is this because of the actual fleet here of all these 737 MAX, or is it just the specific plane?
This is a very infrequent occurrence. This is the first one I've heard of in a 737 in probably 20 years. So this would be an isolated incident. The standby power control unit, which was the offender in this case, should not have been powered, and that will be part of the investigation as to why it actuated the rudder and how it turned itself on when the regular power control unit was still operating.
Yeah, this Dutch roll is a serious problem, and in fact, it did badly damage this brand new jet because as you could see it going through this little permutation and so on, it puts incredible stress on what's known as the empennage, which is the tail section with the vertical and horizontal stabilizers. And what it does is it flexes the airplane aft of the wings. And that's something that it doesn't just happen with airplanes. Have you ever heard of a Sidewinder missile? A Sidewinder missile is an air-to-air missile that's basically a heat-seeking missile. And when it's fired, because it has vanes in the front and back, it does this, which is basically a Dutch roll in one direction, consequently earning the name Sidewinder. Submarines can do this too, similar situation. They have control surfaces in the fore and aft of the submarine, and it can literally go through the ocean like this if it's going fast enough. So the good news is the pilots were able to get it under control before it tore the tail of the aircraft off, which is always something you want to avoid. Yeah, tails are important in the human existence. You don't want to go anywhere where your tail can get torn off. True. By the way, why is it called a Dutch roll? Well, because it's reminiscent of a skating move that was developed in the Netherlands, and so that's why it's called a Dutch roll. It doesn't actually involve the aircraft rolling over this time, but it is pretty dang dangerous, and I'm glad the pilots were able to save everybody on the aircraft. This is the Wells Report. Back in a
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I'm looking at the wrong camera. There. So, So I've been watching with great interest the sports life of Caitlin Clark. She is perhaps the preeminent, if not the preeminent, female basketball player that ever came out of the college ranks, earning her stardom at LSU. She has joined the WNBA, and the WNBA is welcoming her in not friendly terms, according to a lot of people that are watching the story. And she's having a tough time. And mainly she's having a tough time because she's getting hammered an awful lot by virtue of other WNBA players treating her in what many people believe are bullying and unfair fashions. Take a look at this report and you tell me what you see.
Clark, hammer. 3 Sky players coming over. At the top, the official is pointing to his head here, and I think they're going to look at this to review it. The foul, I believe, to Angel Reese. Yep, across the head, and they will go to the monitor to review this one.
Yeah, that's
foul
right.
Reese is being reviewed for possible upgrade to a flagrant.
I think it'll be upgraded here.
Yeah, it was upgraded here. It was turned into a flagrant foul, and there was an immediate debate after all of that by an awful lot of people looking at it. In fact, USA Today reports it as follows. The budding Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry added another chapter yesterday when Reese was assessed with a flagrant foul for hitting Clark in the head on a drive to the basket. Officials originally called a common foul, but upgraded it to a flagrant one after a video review. You do too many of those and you're gone. After the game, it was an 88-83 win for Clark and the Indiana Fever over the Chicago Sky. Reese defended her actions, calling it a basketball play. She went on to say this: I can't control the refs. They affected the game a lot tonight. I'm always going for the ball, but y'all going to play that clip 20 times before Monday. Now 21, I just played it. Clark agreed. Caitlin Clark agreed with Reese. It's just a part of basketball. Trying to make a play on the ball, get the block. I mean, it happens. Reese, the WNBA's top offensive rebounder, was in foul trouble for a good part of the game. Had to sit for a long stretch in the third quarter. She was also hit with a delay of game warning at one point in the fourth quarter after a prolonged argument with officials. Going on and looking at this, looking at the film, I've seen there's no film. It's all just video. There's not even videotape. It's video. Going back and looking at the video, I've seen a lot of calls that weren't made, said Reese, before possibly adding more fuel to the fire. I guess some people get a special whistle. What's a special whistle? Well, a special whistle is when somebody, say, for example, gets a call that otherwise would be left uncalled based on who they are and what they represent to the league. Tom Brady got special whistles. Several other players got special whistles. And maybe Caitlin Clark is getting special whistles. There are good reasons why. She is not as big as some of these titans that play WNBA basketball. These women are big and they are tough. And they have reasons to, some people say, go after this rookie and teach her a thing or two about the pro game. Well, that's all part of the process. However, sometimes you have to be smarter than the typical abuse of a rookie in a typical professional league. Caitlin Clark outscored everyone, every female ever. She is the all-time leading scorer in women's major college basketball. She's coming to the WNBA. She's making $75,000 a game. And she's bringing fans that have never watched a WNBA game ever before. Is it because she's white? No. It's because she's incredibly good. People said, my goodness gracious, Caitlin Clark was left off the United States Olympic team. Well, I believe that Dan Patrick, the sports guy, not the lieutenant governor, hit it right on the button. Okay, are you going to exchange experience and professionalism, since we take pro athletes and put them in the Olympics now, which is a mistake? Anyway, are you going to take one of those seasoned professional female basketball players off the roster to put Caitlin Clark on the roster? Say what you want about the rough play of the WNBA as focused on Caitlin Clark, but this is a learning process. Caitlin Clark is going to have to get into the weight room and get bigger. She's going to have to get tougher. But there's another caveat here. And the caveat is this. Is the NBA better off with Caitlin Clark on the floor or without Caitlin Clark on the floor? I don't have any problem with the decisions made to not put her on the Olympic team. That's okay. Who do you take off the squad if you put her on? Don't do it. But when it comes to learning about the game and learning what you have to do to be better at the game, and yeah, Caitlin Clark is going to have to get into a weight room and spend a lot of time in the offseason. You do have to understand that Caitlin Clark is bringing new eyes to the WNBA. And the most important thing about the WNBA is that it's professional basketball. It is not, this is our specific club. It is our sorority. We can be mean girls when we have somebody that we want to ostracize. We can't do that. That's not professional. Professional sport of any kind requires thinking more than doing. You can't take her out of the game. Over the years, there have been people who were specifically assigned to protect the smaller players. Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player to ever put on skates, was a target. In order to win the hockey game, you had to get Wayne Gretzky out of it because he was going to find a way to score. And so there were big hulking brutes that were on that squad specifically to act as bodyguards. And the hard checks that happened after somebody would check Wayne Gretzky into the boards were bone-splitting. Bill Laimbeer of the Detroit Pistons was the enforcer on that squad. Dennis Rodman of the Chicago Bulls was the enforcer on that squad. Indeed, the Indiana Pro Women's Basketball Association team better come up with somebody. And yeah, and I got to be perfectly honest with you, Caitlin Clark will very likely get thrown out of a basketball game one of these days when one of these women run over her and she gets up and punches them in the face. That would be a flagrant 2. She'd be gone. Okay. But people will understand that you don't get to take out Caitlin Clark. And it's stupid to even consider it. When I was doing the research for this story, I've noticed that there are an awful lot of people saying that these are big, angry, African-American women trying to protect their league. I don't necessarily agree with all that, but that's what people are saying. They also throw a sexuality component into it, saying that the main reason why Caitlin Clark is having trouble is because she's both white and straight. And so these accusations carry various kinds of weight. You can think about them or not, or try to figure out what you believe whether they're true or not. What I can tell you is that negative talk like that will destroy the WNBA and will destroy it in quick fashion. You take a bucket of crabs, they're about to be thrown into a pot of hot water, and crabs that say, I don't want any part of this, and try to climb out or pull back into the bucket. Better stop it. Better not be crabs. And by the way, I'm not associating crabs with WNBA players. I want to make that abundantly clear. Maybe a poor choice of analogy there, but Serena Williams weighed in, and Serena looks absolutely radiant these days. Tennis star Serena Williams understands the pressure Caitlin Clark is facing. He's glad the Indiana Fever, their rookie, Caitlin Clark, tries to avoid social media. If people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do. True. Williams was speaking at a recent Tribeca Film Festival in New York for the premiere of In the Arena, Serena Williams, which will air next month on ESPN Plus. I'll be watching. I was bullied, said Williams, of her experiences when entering the professional tennis field. Things I had to go through, now people would be canceled for. Yeah, she was the number one pick. Caitlin Clark was the number one pick in the WNBA draft after a record-setting college career at Iowa. People weighed in after her being left off of the Olympic team. Clark said last week it's disappointing. People were using her name to promote agendas. Yeah. The agenda is winning basketball, not anything else. And so, the latest on Caitlin Clark. WNBA had better be extremely careful, or they're going to blow up the entire league for the sake of mean girls trying to protect something that doesn't belong to them, because all professional sports belong to the fans, and they're forgetting that. I'm a swimmer. I swam for about 10 years. I loved every minute of it, except for the throwing up in the pool toward the end of the career when I just wasn't fast enough, so I pushed myself beyond my limits. And I have always paid attention to the sport, and indeed have taken part in sending letters to the U.S. Olympic team, U.S. Olympic Committee, based on some things I saw in swimming that I thought were not correct. They, by the way, have fixed those. I'm very surprised and pleased to see. The U.S. Olympic swimming trials are underway. They are unforgiving. They are grueling. And it is determined, what they do is they put all these people through these paces to find out who's going to go to the Paris Olympics. Gretchen Walsh is a 21-year-old University of Virginia standout. She surprised herself and just about everybody else when she broke the nearly 8-year-old world record in the women's 100-meter butterfly in the semifinals. I watched that race. It was amazing. So yesterday, in the loaded final of the same race, Walsh had to either outdo or come close to matching that performance or risk perhaps failing to make the Olympic team. Nothing was guaranteed. Everything was up in the air. So she went out and nearly did it again. She won the 100-meter butterfly with a time just a sliver of a fingernail off her new world record of 55.18 seconds. My fastest time in the 100-meter butterfly was somewhere around 57. Yep. You learn. You get away. I used to, it was a matter of pride, actually. I wasn't anywhere close to the men's times in Olympic competition, but I could get past female Olympic swimmers and indeed did it a couple of times. But all I can say is time has passed, and now the women are faster than I ever was. And it's okay, because that's the nature of things, isn't it? So anyway, she was just a sliver of the fingernail off her new world record, 55.18. She swam a 55.31 to hold off 2021 Olympian and former U.S. record holder Tori Husky, who finished second at 55.52, her fastest time ever. And she's old. She's like in her 40s. I was definitely nervous, said Walsh. I had a lot of what-ifs going through my head of just being like coming off breaking a world record, then thinking, what do I need to do that again? Or I might miss the team. What if I get third? And what would that even look like? Yeah, that's tough. And also, by the way, what else is going on in the world of sports? Collegiate sports, to be completely accurate. Well, the College World Series. Texas A&M defeated Florida 3-2 in the opening round of the 2024 Men's College World Series following a 4-hour weather delay at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, Nebraska. The game was originally scheduled to get underway at 7 p.m. Thunderstorms pushed the first pitch back to 11:15 p.m. They played it anyway. Caden Sorrell had a pair of hits, including a double, an RBI, a run scored for the Aggies. Earlier that day, Kentucky won in dramatic fashion in extra innings. The Wildcats beat an NC State Wolfpack after Kentucky third baseman Mitchell Daly hit a walk-off home run in the 10th inning to win 5-4. Kentucky's win sets up a showdown against Texas A&M, and somebody's going home today. NC State versus Florida, Kentucky versus Texas A&M. You can watch them on ESPN Plus. Speaking of sports, there's somebody else that had something to say, a sports figure of incredible renown who was getting an incredible honor. and made an incredible speech, part of which you're going to see as we continue here on this Wells Report. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. What do you think? What are you thinking? What have you heard? What are your comments? 817-379-2172. Would love to hear from you if you have time today. Otherwise, stick around. I want you to catch what's being said next. It's good, and I'll prove it to you as we continue on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secure.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Tom Brady is moving to the next chapter of his life. He'll be a Fox Sports football analyst. He's making $375 million over the next 10 years. That's $37.5 million every year. Wow. If only I'd played football. Yeah. Well, he won 7 Super Bowls. He appeared in 10. I mean, goodness gracious, the guy is amazing. And he got his feet wet with the UFL championship game on Fox Sports. Kurt Menefee and someone else joined Tom Brady for his first foray into sports broadcasting. It looked a little something like this.
Tom Brady, legendary quarterback, just had his number retired.
I can't go down there on the field anymore. What
You can't play anymore? No. He's joining us here at Fox Sports. I'm sure you have heard as an analyst this fall. Can't wait to see him. So far, what are your impressions this early going? Championship game, sometimes teams can be a little bit tight. It looks like it may be right here.
They're all a little different.
Yeah.
You get into these games, and there's a lot of defense out there right now. You see defense can go out there and play with a lot of energy, but someone's got to get the ball down the field and try to open this field up a little bit. It's a lot of horizontal passes, and the defense are swarming and trying to punch the ball out. So make them defend every blade of grass. That's what we say.
Yeah, so there you go, Tom Brady. Getting into the swing of things, he was roundly booed. Yeah. St. Louis fans not afraid to let Brady know about how they felt about him during the Fox broadcasting. Brady awarded the UFL Championship MVP trophy to Adrian Martinez, the Birmingham Stallions, following a 25-0 UFL title game victory over the San Antonio Brahmas. It was the Stallions' third consecutive title, and yeah, he got booed. But as you heard, his number retired by the New England Patriots, and not only that, but also found himself in the New England Patriots Hall of Fame, and he made a speech. And that speech is something that everybody, regardless of whether you like Tom Brady or not, needs to hear in these United States. Check this out.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach, and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2 days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way. And my advice is to prepare yourself, because football lessons teach us that success and achievement come from overcoming adversity, and that team accomplishment far exceeds anyone's individual goals. To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. If you look at all my teammates here tonight, it would be impossible to find better examples of men who embody that work ethic, integrity, purpose, determination, and discipline that it takes to be a champion in life.
Yeah, a champion in life. A meritocracy cannot be better described than that. Meritocracy is the greatest system of achievement in the history of the human endeavor. I have had a very good career in radio broadcasting. And I didn't start out with a lot of the constellation of abilities that it took to get there. I developed them because I worked with giants, because I listened to what they said. I worked to create a cohesive team at the radio stations at which I worked so that we could indeed strive together. And it worked. Tom Brady, not the flashiest quarterback ever drafted by an NFL team. But what he just said, he was willing to do things that other people weren't. Figure it out. Get better at it. And that's what it takes. You ought to play that speech for your kids. You ought to play that speech for your coworkers. A lot of it's just, I took the part that made the most sense to me. And that was the part that reinforced the meritocracy, the willingness to do the hard work. I was talking about swimming a second ago. I know exactly what he meant by getting up at 6 or even 5 in the morning to go swim 3 miles at various speeds in various strokes. only to do it after before school, only to do it again after school when you were trying to get ready for a meet. I didn't succeed at that level, but I was quick. And it did prepare me for life, because life is hard. And that's what it takes to succeed. Good for Tom Brady. Good luck in his broadcasting career. I hope he has a great time. I've had a great time today on this broadcasting career. This is the Wells Report. We'll see you again tomorrow. But a programming note. Actually, you're not going to see me tomorrow unless I do the show after I get off work. I don't think I'm going to do the show tomorrow because I have to do a shift at my new job. So I won't be here tomorrow. And on Wednesday and Thursday, the show will revert back to its original time of 9 to 11 because I have more work to do. I have a day job now, and the good thing about that day job is that it makes money. So I need some, and that's what I'll be up to. But so I won't be on the air tomorrow. I will be on Wednesday at 9 a.m. in the morning. Same story on Thursday, 9 a.m. in the morning, and then thankfully back to 11 a.m. on Friday as we wrap up the work week. Have yourself a wonderful day today. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. Thanks very much for taking part in the chat room today. I'm sorry to get a chance to spend much time at it, just sharing your comments. But there's always the phone. You know, if you're frustrated by not getting your chat entry on the broadcast, you can always call me. Just saying. So until Wednesday, God bless you and all like you, damn few. And I will see you Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. for an earlier edition of the show that normally comes on at 11 a.m. Do you have a scorecard handy? That's sometimes what it takes. We move this thing around when we have to. So God bless you and yours. Take good care. Be safe. Make good decisions. I will see you again.